And also just to add, being aware of like your thinking patterns, because everything starts with an idea, doesn't it? And like the power of your mind is like, I'm just learning more and more every day how powerful our thoughts are. And not only our thoughts, but then the words we choose and the actions we do, and all these different types of things. Like I've learned recently about spell casting and stuff. So funny, because like, I don't know, it just, people just think you're a weirdo if you say that you're a witch or a wizard or something. But just learning that you can think something, but if you actually say those words out loud, it works, and it strengthens that thought like times 10. And I've done it where I've cleared my energy. If I felt like I picked up negative energy, if I think to myself, like imagine myself as a burning fire, burning out the energy, it does it. But if I actually say out loud, I am the purifying flame of God, and I burn all impurities out, like my mind, body, and soul, or whatever. And those words being a spell, because everything you say is casting spells, because magic is only manipulation of energy. So even your thoughts are magic and things like that.
Love that.
You say that spell out loud, you fully feel it on a next level you won't believe. And so the stories we tell about our lives, the way that you talk about yourself, everything, your thoughts and your words are just so important as well. And like you say, if you try and bake a cake and you want it to taste better next time, but you use the exact same recipe and do the exact same thing again, your cake's just going to come out crap again. Like you're not going to get that nice cake unless you change something in the recipe, which is changing your routine or having a different morning, like you say. The first, I read this book, it's called The Morning Miracle, and it talks about how the very first hour of your day is so important to how the rest of your day is going to go.
Miracle morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a productive hour in the morning, your whole day you're like on it, you get loads done. If you kind of lounge about for the first hour on your phone and stuff, your whole day is just sluggish. And I don't know psychologically how it works, but it works.
100%. There's a couple of bits I'd love to unpack with you there, because Sarah's really got into Wicca and witchcraft and that sort of stuff.
Cool.
She's doing a yoga instructor course, yoga teacher training, and it's all just tying in this, discussing these energies from different perspectives, but they all make sense, and they're all just like metaphorical to be able to understand the energies that we don't necessarily are able to detect with the five senses. So like a couple of years ago, if you mentioned witchcraft to me, I would have been like laughing my socks off, like so pessimistic, like that's for fairy tales. But you're 100% right. Like as we've just discussed, like thoughts affect feelings, feelings affect behavior, and vice versa. If you take the behavior to like cast a spell, and use quotation marks for anybody who's pessimistic of it, is like you do the physical actions to catch the spell. That is a physical symbol to your body to change your feelings, to change your thoughts. All of a sudden, like you say, you feel empowered, you feel like your whole biochemistry has changed. That's a transmission of energy. And it all started with a thought which jumped to an action which then changed how you felt. You decided, I'm gonna do these actions, create the spell. Your body does your bits. Any rituals that you have tied relevance with the change that you want to see, you really put your heart and soul into it, and you do those actions, whether it be burning a candle at the river, or whether it be some herbs and spices in a pot, whatever it is, and then you create the physical change of energy. Like that's magic. That's magic. Of course it is. Yeah, that's a few years ago I would have just been so like pessimistic about that sort of stuff, and then now it's like understanding that the idea of the witch that we have in our mind now from the fairy tales, of it's because of a time in history where essentially the church wanted to be the gatekeeper to the connection with God from the people. the church didn't want the people to have their own connection to God. It had to be through the church so that they could reign power and reign dominant. So these witches of the past, who might have been shamans, like healers, that's what these people really were. They had a connection with nature, they had a connection with Mother Earth. They might have been making mushroom tea, they might have been using sound healing, psychedelic mushrooms, they might have been using sound healing, they might have been using breath work, they might have so many different things that we can tap into this psychedelic state, that state where we're connected with oneness. The church didn't like that, because that oneness represents their idea of God, and they want to be the gatekeeper to God. So they demonized the witches and the healers and the shamans and these like archetypes that we need in our life, we need in our society, and that's kind of where we have the phrase witch today. It's kind of like a Halloween costume, or like a bit of a child's story, but in reality it's just someone who's connected to energy, someone who can feel and can work with energy.
And it's how we all, I don't know if you've ever heard of like Lemuria and stuff.
No.
So it's like an ancient civilization before Atlantis, basically. And back then, we were almost like we weren't fit in physical bodies. We were incarnated in more kind of energetic bodies, or they hadn't become as dense as we are today. But like back in ancient cultures, even Lemuria, even Atlantis and stuff, they all were witches and wizards. They were all like using energy and manipulation, and like sound, moving rocks with sound was just a normal thing, and growing limbs with sound was a normal thing. Healing people with sound, like there was so much that was just normal. That it's just so funny how today now, like that's just considered crazy. We've become so disconnected to our true abilities of what we can actually do. And I think it could well be just from our disconnect with nature, like you were saying. Like something I've found recently is the more that I connect with nature in my day-to-day life, like if I eat like loads of fruit and vegetables, which I do, so I eat raw, so that's all I eat is fruit and vegetables. Suddenly, like my feminine cycle is in time with the moon every single month. Whenever the moon is on like a new moon or something, I'm now in sync with nature, my body is. And you grow spiritually through just being more connected with nature. You start to see yourself in the plants, you start to see yourself in the animals, like, and then I feel like you almost become more connected to God as well, because you just so become aware of the oneness. And I just think getting back to nature, connecting back to nature is so important. And I was going to ask you about these cold showers, because in nature we would have had cold showers and baths. Like we wouldn't have been warming up the water to go in there. So again, that's another thing that's getting us back to how we naturally would be, which I think is just so important. And is that something you learned in van life? Like, did you just have to have cold showers and then you started to feel the benefits? And then is that where it came from then?
Yeah, literally that. It was had this great little shower pump. It's about the size of a Coke can, and it plugs into your cigarette lighter.
Yeah.
But it's a proper power shower, like it blasts.
Yeah.
So I'd have a little like a tank in the back, and just bring the tank out, stick the shower on the side of the van, and I was never bothered about like boiling a pan of water to put anywhere or whatever, but just having a cold shower. And I've always known, like from school, I remember hearing something like, "Oh, it's good for your pores. Like closes your pores up, and like it's good, just refresher." And obviously, when being in the summers in Ibiza in the van, like I always used to look forward to a cold shower after the gym because it's boiling. And then I started really noticing, like when there was no other type of shower, like, oh my god, like I feel alive doing this. And then I found Wim Hof, and Wim is absolutely amazing. I'm sure everyone listening's already heard of Wim Hof, but if you haven't, go and check him out. And he's really bringing the science up to date with how this cold water can really change lives, because it sounds like, no, cold shower can change your life, whatever, but it's so can. The capillaries or our veins, they're like thousands of miles, like 125 kilometers, 125,000 kilometers long. You wrap it around the earth however many times. I don't know my maths on that. Someone correct me. But you can wrap it around the earth twice, all the veins in us. And when we jump in the cold water, those capillaries flex, they tense up to close off so that we can keep the blood in our internals, keep our core temperature at the right temperature to protect our organs. But our limbs can brace the cold just with the closed up capillaries. So because we don't get in the cold anymore, this vascular system has got weak because it's not feeling that stress that it needs to feel every single day. Every time you get in the cold, it's like 1 rep in the gym. And within 2 weeks of cold showers, you can reverse years and years of like inflammation, heart problems, like cholesterol and just fatigue. There's just so many benefits from it, and all it is returning to our natural way of being. Like, this is how we were supposed to be. Like ancient American Indians would like dunk the babies, newborns, under the ice to make them feel alive, like prepare them for the brutal reality that is nature, because nature is beautiful, but it's also brutal. And it's that combination of beauty and brutal that we are designed to live in. An actual fact, we've sort of like, we're skimming off the sides to just get to somewhere in the middle which is comfortable. And we can't thrive there. We can't thrive in that place.
That's amazing. So one of the things that I was gonna